The Fantasy Six-Pack Hour. With your hosts, Joe Bond.
You're awful.
And AJ Applegarth.
It's Sin Shu Chu. It's a mouthful.
All right. Welcome to the Fantasy Six-Pack Hour. My name is Joe Bond, founder of FantasySixPack.net. With me, as usual, Mr. AJ Applegarth, who apparently doesn't actually want to say hi to me since we're going to be spending 6 hours in a car on Friday driving to the expo. But I'm going to say hi anyway. Hi.
No. Stop. You're killing all the small talk we're going to have. Stop.
You could talk all day long, man. I had to ask you to stop.
But nobody listens. So, I might as well just find a, hole to dig in the ground and just, talk to myself while I'm digging it. And then, once I get in there nice and comfy, just keep talking.
Sounds about right. So, all right. Anyway.
Why not? All right.
So, anyway, so tonight we are going to be talking about our final division preview for the season upcoming, the NFC West. Let's just jump right into it, man. And but obviously, before we do that, let's do our beer of the week.
Beer.
All right, what you got?
So I have pretty much my new favorite drink of all time. It's called Disco Alien. If you can see that. That's Disco Stew likes disco music.
Nice can art. I like it.
This thing's phenomenal. It is a fresh, unfiltered, unpastured, yada, yada, yada. It's really good.
You bringing one of those to the expo for me? Oh.
What
happened again, AJ? What? This keeps happening to you.
I don't understand why Skype thinks that it owns my cameras and life here, but
you need to close Skype for good.
I didn't go anywhere.
All right.
Skype, unpinned from taskbar, and
we're professional here. This is awesome.
Program.
All right. Anyway, my question is,
uninstall.
Are you bringing one of those to the expo for me? Because that sounds phenomenal.
Yes, I will. I have two left, and I went last night after driving in torrential downpour to see if they still had one. I almost bought it the night that I got the first 4-pack because there was a second one just sitting there. I was like, and I didn't do it. So, lo and behold, they didn't have it yesterday.
Go figure. All right, so I am drinking something I picked up from my beach vacation in Delaware. It is an American Solera double dry hop terpy Citra, 8%. I gave this a 4 1/4. It's very light, and obviously the Citra makes it that, and kind of like it's got fruity aftertaste as well. I'm trying to think of like where it's from. I bought it because it was like a different. I was in Connecticut, yeah. So like it's stuff that I definitely can't get. I found this random beer store.
I went to Delaware and bought a Connecticut beer.
Whatever they have, I have other Delaware beers. I bought some Dogfish. I bought some stuff like that.
This Disco Alien is Blue Earl Brewing from Smyrna, Delaware. Shout out.
They didn't have that. I did not see that one there. So anyway, this is good stuff. Cheers. Anyway, let's get on with it. We're bringing on guest of honor, Jennifer Eakins from 4 for 4. How's it going tonight, Jennifer?
Oh, I'm good. Sorry, I was
okay.
on my phone for a sec while you guys were talking beer.
That's perfectly fine. No apologies. Yeah. So we're here to talk some NFC West and close out our division previews. And let's just rip right into it. So the very first thing that we like to do is ask a non-fantasy question, just an NFL-related question in general. And with this division, it's the Rams finally stopped the reign of the NFC West championships for the Seahawks. Can they repeat once again, or is this just too talented of a division for them to do that? And, the Seahawks or the Cardinals or, the 49ers could shock people like they've done it before. So, what do you think?
Nope.
AJ.
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
I think that I would say it's really anyone's game, except I don't see the Cardinals taking that division. I just don't see it happening this year. But I think, I think the Seattle Rams and really the 49ers are pretty close. I mean, I think they'll all be kind of around 10 wins. I don't know. I see the Cardinals maybe with 8. But I think it's not I don't think there's one team that you're like, okay, it's going to run with the division no matter what. I think they're all pretty close. I
can agree with that. I do think it's the Rams and Seahawks kind of 1-2. Obviously injuries are going to play a big part in that.
Right.
But I think those are the 2 front runners, in my opinion. So.
Yeah, I think the 49ers, like you said, I think they may surprise people. I mean, we don't really know. Obviously we'll get more into it later on, but with their quarterback situation, and we just don't know. But they could end up catching fire.
Yeah, I mean the 49ers are interesting. I joke early, but I mean they still have a lot of talent. Their receiving core is pretty solid. I think it's just going to come down to which quarterback they're ultimately going to play with this year.
Right.
I mean, Jimmy G, when healthy and given opportunity, has been pretty good. They obviously drafted another quarterback, so maybe they don't believe as much. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, they've always been a run-heavy team. If Deebo Samuel can stay healthy this year, I think that's huge for them. If Kittle can stay healthy this year, I think that's huge for them. When health is not an issue for that team, they are scary. But I still would also give the edge to the. Yeah, I was like, what are you doing? I would give the edge to the Seahawks. I still think they're the best team in the division, up and down on all sides of the ball. So,
all right, so. What we're going to do the rest of this show, Jennifer, is we're going to run through the positions. First, we'll give the ADP of the top-ish players, and then we'll go question. We'll do a bunch of questions for relevant players and interesting topics here. So starting off with quarterbacks, we've got Kyler Murray at QB3, Russell Wilson at QB6, Matthew Stafford at 11, and then Trey Lance at 21 and Jimmy Garoppolo at 33. And I wanted to start with that San Francisco QB situation here. Obviously they took a pretty big leap of faith on Trey Lance, in my opinion. I think the talent is there, the athleticism is there for him. I'm just not sure he's super NFL ready. I think most people agree that Jimmy G's days are pretty numbered now at this point. So just real quick, what do you think the over-under is on games started for Jimmy G?
I think it's going to surprise people. I think he's going to play more games than people think. And I see a lot of people drafting Lance, in leagues as, someone that they're expecting to get a lot of points from. And I don't know if that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Like you said, we don't know if he's NFL ready. I've read some things that he's had some clock management issues so far in camp. I think I'm not taking him, unless it's, like a QB3 in best ball or something. But I think that, I don't know. I'm putting 6 games, maybe 7 for Jimmy G. I don't know. I mean, if they're winning, why would they? Why are they going to take him out, right? So I think it just kind of depends. Like AJ said, if Jimmy G's healthy and he's playing well enough to keep them in the division, then why would they switch to Lance? They might as well keep him kind of learning and healthy, in his rookie season. So I think a lot of people are kind of underestimating the situation. I may be overestimating the situation, but that's kind of my feel there.
Yeah, I don't know, AJ, you got any? I mean, you've already kind of talked about it. I mean, anything else to say with it?
Not really. I mean, I think I think Lance needs to sit back and get a bit of that Aaron Rodgers treatment for year one. and just
even the Mahomes treatment too. Like
yeah.
I think there's a lot of that there. I think he's a project. I think he's super talented. He just needs to learn. And I mean, Jimmy G's a guy you can learn from. He's a smart quarterback. He's just always hurt. So whoever Lance might get thrown into the fire, at some point.
So I feel like he might know a thing or two. I mean, he's been to a Super Bowl, so yeah, he's as a starter. I mean, not as a backup, but he's been to like 17 of those. So I think Lance just needs to, kind of take a step back, get his head straight, get his head, in this game. It's a different game altogether between college and NFL. And I'd like to see him succeed. I think he can if he takes the time and puts in the work. So, all right, moving on to my pick here, the Seattle Seahawks. Mr. Russell Wilson, obviously, I mean, he had a pretty disappointing second half last year. Weeks 1 to 9. Yeah, he was pretty solid. Had the second most points per game as quarterback. 10 to 17, not so much. He was 15th, and that's excluding Mariota's one game that he just blew up. And sidebar, that was really annoying when I was trying to select people and would just go to quarterbacks or high scoring average for Scott Fish. And it's like Mariota.
Yeah.
It's like, can I like push him to the bottom? I get it. He had one good game. Anyway. So back to Russ Wilson. I mean, he was pretty much the same as what he did last year in 2019. So why is there such a drop off with Russ this year?
I like Russ. Like, I've been drafting him because he's falling, and people I think have this weird recency bias of thinking that, yes, like you said, he had a tough, second half of the season. He threw, I think, 5 fewer attempts in the second half each game than he did in the first half. We have to look at the fact that Brian Schottenheimer's gone, right? They've got a new OC, Shane Waldron from the Rams. And I think I think Russ will be fine. I mean, that's the thing. Like, people are frustrated with his lack of throwing, which I do understand, but like, he also runs. So like, fantasy wise, I understand if you're a Seattle fan and you're super frustrated, fine. But like, from the fantasy perspective, I'm still taking him this year because he's falling and people seem to be not on him, where I feel like he's going to surprise people and be better in this, in this new offense.
Yeah. My only worry with him is that not only did he do that last year, he did it in 2019 as well. And so it's like, now we've got 2 years in a row, and maybe the new offensive coordinator comes in and makes a big difference for him. But it's just, something's up. And so now we've got a little bit of a trend. And yeah, I mean, 2 years, short sample size, but that's a trend. So, I worry a little bit that, he comes out on fire, 2 years in a row, and then just sort of drops off. And so, yeah, you might make the playoffs with him because you could start out, 6-2, 8-2, whatever. But then once you get to the playoffs in your leagues, he's not showing up, and so that's tough. I mean, he's got 2 super talented receivers, so it is hard to totally ignore him. Yeah, but I mean, his consistency rating isn't that great. It's only 69% last year, which is not top tier for quarterbacks. So,
but he's not going in the top tier, and you're not drafting him in the top tier. So, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know what his ADP is. I don't know. I think you said it.
His ADP is 6 for quarterbacks. So, I mean, he's up there. I mean, he's going ahead of Rodgers still, which I think should have been corrected, but I guess it hasn't caught up yet. But he's going. Yeah, it's hard. It's tough with him. It really is, in my opinion. Like, he's going to have these blow up games, but I just worry that those like big games early on carries his like total points for the season but that his consistency is bad enough where I'd rather take somebody who could be a little more consistent for me, and even just take two of them and just stream them if I have to. You know, I don't know.
Yeah.
So that's why I have passed on Wilson in every league I've been in best ball in general.
Yeah, I mean, I would not have a problem taking him if he fell to me at a point where I was really looking for quarterback. And like you said, if he's already ahead of Rodgers, but if Rodgers, I've seen Herbert going ahead of him.
I have not seen that yet.
Don't think I've seen Brady go ahead of him, obviously.
No.
So he's right in with those guys, but it's tight. And to me, if your league focuses on rushing attempts and rushing yards, he's a shoo-in ahead of those guys easily. I mean, he's gonna be running the ball, and he's good at it, so he's gonna get you points there, and that's what counts.
Yeah, that definitely happens. That's what keeps him up there, just ever so slightly, I feel like. But I don't know. It's just the consistency where he's going in like the 4th, 5th round in most drafts right now.
Yeah,
that's a little too rich for me for a quarterback that his consistency. Yeah, that's a little too rich for me for a quarterback that has had 2 years in a row where he's just fallen off the map at the end of the season for you, and that's killer. You got to win your league, and your quarterback needs to help you in the playoffs probably. But let's move on to a quarterback who had burned me and AJ both last year, unfortunately, and that's Matthew Stafford. But now he's on a new team, new coaching staff, and there's a lot of excitement around him playing for McVay and this Rams team. Just how good can we expect Matthew Stafford to be now that he's got this wide receiving core around him, this offensive guru, in Sean McVay? What do you expect here, Jennifer?
Stafford's tough because he's one of those guys, like he's in a situation now, like if he doesn't succeed, then you know what I mean? Like what is he really? I feel like it's frustrating because when you actually look at the numbers for Stafford, like they're not good. Like he doesn't have good fantasy years, but at the same time he is talented. He definitely has a better arm than Goff as far as downfield and all that. So I mean, he's what, QB 12? I don't know. You guys you're using different ADPs.
So I'm using the hat. So I go Fantasy Pros, and I, not that it matters for quarterbacks, but we filter for the rest of the positions on half PPRs. This is sort of the middle ground. I feel like it's just easier for the show.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, we use the Fantasy Pros like consensus ADP.
Okay.
Just
because I'm looking I'm looking at Underdog. Like he's QB 14 right now. I mean, he's
anywhere
affordable.
between like 11 and like 14 on all these sites. So
he's affordable if you want to wait and you don't want to. The thing with him, he doesn't run. So if you miss out on that first tier of rushing guys, I mean, he doesn't run. But I mean, I think he's in a good situation, right? I mean, but at the same time, I mean, like I said, if he doesn't do it now, he's never going to do it. But I think that where he's being drafted, he's fine. Like in redraft, if you want to wait and just take him as your QB, I think he'll be fine. In best ball, I think he's fine. I mean, and I hate that word but that's what he is.
To me, you look at his percentage, his completion percentage, and his yards. Obviously, with Detroit, they've pretty much always been a pass-heavy team with him there. 18 was his worst year, not including 19 because he only played half a season. But I mean, he had under 4,000 yards. Every other year, he was basically over 4,000. Last year, just over, almost at 41. But his all of his stats have been consistent for the most part. I just think that he's never had a good enough team with the weapons, or this many weapons, put it that way, because he's had some good weapons throughout his career, but he is getting older. You know, like you said, he's not mobile at all. He will gladly just take a sack. So that does not help you in leagues where you're getting penalized for that. But even his completion percentage was really good from 15 to 18. You know, he's 66 plus pretty much. He's dropped back down to 64-ish. Still solid. I mean, that's the big thing for me, especially in like a Scott Fish type tournament where you're getting credit for that type of a quarterback. So if you need to wait because the quarterback run seemed like it was happening, aside from my league, it happened pretty quick in Fish. So I think that's a good thing.
I just think I just think the upside with him is pretty tantalizing. He's got the arm to do it. Jennifer, you mentioned that. He's moving to a much better offense. He's got better weapons than he's ever had. I mean, he's never had a Robert Woods and a Kupp. He's had, Kenny Golladay, awesome, but has been banged up too.
Calvin Johnson is, pretty good.
But I guess that was.
He's all right.
Just okay. That was super early in his career. I mean, yeah, but he's always had like one guy, never two, and a really good coaching staff as well. Like that's going to
Danny
coach.
Amendola? Are you kidding
That's going
me?
to coach to his skills, not too. So like that plays a big part in it. I agree with you. The risk and the question marks are there for him, where there's still a little uncertainty of just how good he can be. He might be just a little too much of a gunslinger, where it's just kind of like, all right, I mean, he's going to have these huge games, but then he's going to have these like dud games too, where it's like that's why he's going in the 11 to 14 range of quarterbacks. But I think I would take him over the Burrows and the Trevor Lawrences and the Matt Ryans and things like the guys that he's right above everybody else above him. I'm kind of with that ranking right now, that QB 11-ish, 12-ish range. That feels right to me, because everybody else below him is sort of like, who knows? All right, let's finish up quarterbacks, AJ.
Yeah, I mean, if Love and Stafford is right where his ADP is, then I don't want to be wrong this year, because I clearly was last year. Thanks, Joe. All right, finish it up with Arizona.
Oh, you're blaming that on me?
Yep,
Liar.
totally. Kyler Murray, clearly incredible last season. He rushed for 11 touchdowns. 9 of them came in the red zone. And this was even after he had the injury that slowed him down in the second half. But are we putting too much draft stock, as I can read occasionally, are we putting too much draft stock in him actually repeating this performance, even if he stays healthy all year this year? I mean, 11 touchdowns is pretty high for a quarterback.
It is. It is. I don't think he's going to do that again. I like Kyler. I've been taking Kyler when I can. It's an interesting situation there. Like, I find myself, I was talking about this last night on a different pod. Like, I find myself in best ball kind of like going naked Kyler a lot and not getting any of his weapons, because I'm not really sure what it's going to look like there. I mean, you've got Hopkins, but kind of after that, it's all pretty ugly. Like, I don't know. Yeah. I don't think it's going to happen for Christian Kirk, and I don't think it's going to happen for Andy Isabella and, AJ Green. As much as I'd love to see this, revival of AJ Green, I don't see it. So, if you're drafting Kyler, you're drafting obviously for the rushing upside. And you're just hoping that, something clicks there and that, him and Hopkins can make it happen, which they can. I mean, I don't know. What round is he going in? He's like a fourth.
Overall round, he's going in like the fourth round.
Yeah. I mean,
very late third.
Third, no way. Like I can't do that.
Very end of the third, but yeah, you could probably get him the fourth in a lot of leagues too. But I don't know that I can do that.
I think I got him a lot earlier this summer, more in the fifth zone. But in redraft, I don't know that I'm going to invest in that. I just feel like you can wait and get a couple of the guys, even Stafford later. That I don't know. It's tough. It's a little rich for me. I think 11 touchdowns. I just don't see that. I think he's going to be more in like the 7 range this year.
Yeah, I'm not sure they run him as much in the red zone now that they have. Right. I mean, not that I like James Conner, but he is that power-ish back that they were looking for, I think, because it wasn't there. And so, I mean, Drake had a lot of red zone touchdowns too, but he was also getting sniped a lot from Murray, just doing his little rollout thing. Yeah. But I think teams are gonna definitely key in on that a lot more this year. 11 touchdowns for a quarterback is just insane. No, I mean, his passing touchdowns could go up, sure. It's tough, and you mentioned it, and we'll get to this later too. Like, you mentioned the DeAndre Hopkins things. Like a third, if not more, of Kyler Murray's the passing yards went to Hopkins.
Right.
I don't know if that's repeatable either. There's just a lot of it was just a weird season. Mm-hmm. It just all kind of worked for him somehow, but it wasn't super pretty. And it's not repeatable. So that's what's tough for me. And I've been passing on him as well because he is going so high in drafts.
Yeah. I mean, you look at Lamar Jackson, who everybody just immediately thinks is run, occasionally throw. And that's what he does. I mean, and it's a great thought to have because it's correct. I mean, he did repeat his rushing touchdown performance from 19 to 20 at 7. So that's still, I mean, to me, I still feel like 7 is a very high number, and he had a crazy 36 throwing touchdowns, which I don't even still understand to this day how that even happened in 2019. But I feel like with Murray, there's going to be the regression there. You cannot ever really count on touchdowns in general from your skill position players. DJ Moore is a perfect example of that. There's been plenty of guys over the years who've just been very touchdown dependent or fallen off because they haven't gotten it. I still think Murray's going to have a good season. I don't see 11 touchdowns rushing for him. But, I'm not buying him where he's going right now.
Agreed. All right, well, let's jump in here to the running backs and let's rip through this ADP real quick. And it's not as good as the rest of the positions here, but we got Chris Carson at 19, Darrell Henderson at 25, Chase Edmonds at 27, Raheem Mostert at 29, Trey Sermon at 37, James Conner at 38, Rashad Penny at 49, Xavier Jones at 55, Jeff Wilson Jr. at 65, and Elijah Mitchell at 69. So, a lot of... You could consider some of these guys. These are all a lot of 0 RB targets for a lot of people, I've noticed. And for good reason, because there's a lot of talent here, but there's also a lot of question marks, and I'm sure that will come up plenty in our discussions here. But let's start off here with Seattle. Chris Carson, he is productive when he's on the field. I don't think anybody is denying that. The problem is the health. If you look at his stats throughout the seasons, he hasn't missed a lot of games except for last year, but he has missed a lot of parts of games, and that's brutal as well. That doesn't come out in the games played, games started stat that you see a lot of. But I've owned him. I've had him in many years over the last 2 or 3, or many leagues over the last 2 or 3 seasons, and I know firsthand he gets nicked up in the first quarter in probably 3 or 4 games, and it's just ugh, okay, come on. So that being said, is his ADP of running back 19 in a half PPR feel about right for you, Jennifer? Or is he, a little overrated or underrated?
I happen to be like the number one Chris Carson fan in the universe. So
I'm always buying into him.
I do. I love him. And you know what? It's funny because I have written down here, and you just kind of dispelled everything I have written down here. But
because I'm a huge fan too.
I'm like, everyone always like throws that injury-prone label, and I'm like, well, he's only missed 7 games in the past, 3 years.
But sorry.
It's okay. But from what you said, yes, there's chunks of games, but listen, he's averaged 13.8 half PPR points a game, right, over the last 3 years, which is basically RB 13. And he's going as what, RB 19?
19,
The guy, PPR, he's just one of those guys that, he gets hurt because he runs hard and he plays hard. And as we all know, Seattle is always going to run. I mean, even though they have a new situation there, Pete Carroll is going to run. He loves to run. And I feel like every year there's the whole, but Rashad Penny. Rashad Penny's not coming for his job.
Speaking of health.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And he's not coming for that job. No. Carson's great for where he is. Now, if he was all of a sudden people were drafting him, as an RB13 or whatever, then no. But for where he is, yeah, I'll take him every time in the 4th round when he's sitting there.
I've seen him go around 5.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
I'll take him every time he's there, even if I'm not a big, I don't load up on running backs, so usually I end up taking him because I need him. But I like him. I'm not scared of him. I feel like he'll get nicked up, but he'll come right back. He's just that kind of guy. So I'm always a fan. That's kind of all I have for him. It's funny, the 4 for 4, like everyone knows. I've been a Carson person for a long time, and every year it's the same story. Every year he's in the same spot where he's in the 4th, 5th round. Nobody wants to take him, and there he is, and then he finishes as a high RB2, and for the price of whatever. So I like him.
Looking at the guys that are around him too, Dobbins is getting a ton of love this year, a lot of hype. So I feel like he has to probably not live up to it. Mm-hmm. CEH is a couple spots ahead of him. I'm hoping for a bounce back from him. But, you got Najee Harris, you got Joe Mixon ahead of him. No.
Yeah. I'm right there with you.
You have to take Carson. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, fine. I'll take a much higher tier receiver, or even just shit the bed on my entire team and take a quarterback way early instead of those guys, because Mixon, you have no idea what the hell you're getting. Najee Harris,
I will never draft Mixon. It's just not.
No, I did it.
He is dead to me.
Nope.
He is
I've
dead
done
to
it
me.
Twice.
Stafford is
never again.
Almost dead to me after last year, but
you and me both, buddy.
Not quite yet. Although I don't think I have him yet this year. I might. I don't know.
I definitely do.
I have to look. But Najee Harris is a rookie. Yeah, he's a great story. Yeah, he scored a shit ton of touchdowns for Alabama, but it's Alabama. That's what they do. They score a ton of touchdowns.
I think Harris will be good, but yeah, I'm having trouble pulling that trigger there. I'm with you, Jennifer. Unless I'm getting one of those top 5-6 running backs, I'm not taking. I'm not taking running backs. And then if I do, Carson's falling so far, he's still sometimes my RB2 or because he's sometimes falling the 5th round, because I can still load up for 3 running backs right in between them, or receivers right in between them, and I'm still good.
So, and it's the same story last year, and he did fine. And it's the same story this year.
Jeff's saying a lot of his best ball shares for Carson are pretty high, and I'm right there with you, man.
So moving on to the Rams, we've got obviously the Akers injury that just threw a complete wrench into everything on the hype train for him and for the Rams, really. Darrell Henderson, okay. He's a guy. but now he's the guy apparently because his ADP is shot up into RB2 territory. I mean, there's been some talks that they're going to sign someone else, or, at the very least, they're going to make this just a flat out committee. And, that's cool because that's what Stafford's used to. Not a good running game. But with Xavier Jones, I mean, do you trust Henderson where he's going, or are you just avoiding this altogether?
Well, it's interesting that we're talking about Henderson because I actually just drafted him about 5 minutes ago while you were talking about something else. I did. I drafted him in a best ball, but I drafted him in the late 6th round. So I feel like he's getting, though, I believe his ADP is like in the 4th now, right, or the 5th in certain situations. So I think that's a little too pricey for me. But I will kind of take him, in that 6th round or even 7th if he falls. I don't love him at all. I'm not going to lie and pretend like I loved the pick that I just made. But at the same time, as an RB2 or even an RB3 in that situation, I think he's okay. He had some good games last year. I think for what they're going to use him for, he'll be fine. If they don't, I should say this, if they don't bring in someone else, if they do, then I think then it's kind of a really crappy pick in the 6th or 7th round. But if they don't add somebody in the next few weeks, I think he'll be fine for where he is. Now, if he goes up any higher, like the 4th round, no. Like I will definitely take Carson before him all day long, or whoever else is there in the 4th. But I think he's all right. I mean, like you said, he's just a guy. Maybe he's a little more than just a guy, but I think he's, if he settles in that 6th round or whatever, I think that's fine where he is. I mean, looking at his let me look real quick at the guys that are going around him right now. You got Sanders, Travis Etienne, Josh Jacobs. Like, I'll take Henderson before those guys anyway. So I don't know about, like, if we're looking at, say, the Mike Davis, Myles Gaskin type guys, I guess I consider him kind of in the same spot as those, really.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's a jumbled mess between like Gaskin and Hunt and Robinson and Davis and Darrell Henderson, honestly. Like the ADPs on Fantasy Pros are like a little more spread out because I think the time frame is a little longer here is what I'm guessing. But like from the drafts I've been doing, at least on Underdog, Henderson's moved up into the more Gaskins, Sanders range. And he's been going ahead of them a lot. I'll tell you what, I drafted him just yesterday on the 5-6 turn. I got him at the end of the 5. So I was like, I don't have any of him yet. So I was like, click, why not? Because, it was like him or Gaskin or Hunt. I was just like, I'll take Henderson this time. It's just one of those. Yeah,
I mean, sometimes you have to just kind of mix it up and throw it in there because you can't, it's like you can't have Carson on every team. But, I try, but it depends. I mean, like, so this league that I'm in, that I just picked, it's like it's kind of a Bronco homer league. So like Javonte Williams went before Henderson, and a couple of so you're kind of like, all right, that's why he fought.
I mean, I like Williams. I just that's a tough situation too. But there's a lot like Williams, that whole tier and a half of running backs. You're like, ugh. Do I really have to pick one?
Listen, they call it it's called the dead zone for a reason.
Yeah,
I get all that, but some of some are going to be are right.
Three out of 15 of those guys are going to be good. If you get one of those 3, you're good. You're going to be awesome this year. So,
but you know what?
Throwing darts at a board with a white stick in your hands.
Right. Well, no, but you also know that one of the elite top 5 is going to go down. So it's like you have. So, I mean, on your team, you have to at least have, like, as ugly and not sexy as those guys are, they're at least guys that are going to get more carries. Like, if you wait and you end up going to, like, the Latavius Murray and the Hines tier for your RB2, you're kind of screwing your – like, that's why those guys, like, they're not fun to get like Mike Davis. You're not psyched about it, but he's going to get a decent amount of work compared to if you wait till that next tier.
I agree.
I think even Mike Davis, when he drafts himself, is just like...
Yeah, I mean, no one's, like, psyched about it. You're just kind of like, all right, I got a guy that's going to get some carries.
I could have gone elsewhere, but, all right.
I think at least I'm going to get the work.
Yeah.
Speaking of getting the work, we don't know what's going on in Arizona. AJ, let's touch on that situation.
Fuck, I just closed my window. Hold on.
All right, well, I can just ask the question instead. And you
Go
can
ahead
say
and
it,
ask
friend. All right, so
yeah,
the Cardinals finally let Kenny Drake go. Let him walk. So Chase Edmonds for a while there was like the talk of the town, and it was like Chase Edmonds time. Yeah, not so much. James Conner comes in and ruins everything. So I've seen a lot of, on Twitter and even in drafts where, Chase Edmonds in drafts at least is going predominantly earlier than James Conner. But I've seen people on Twitter going, James Conner is going to be more the guy. You want him more over Edmonds. Like Edmonds got his shot and wasn't really ever the guy. That's why they brought in James Conner. But this is one of the tougher backfields for me to wrap my head around. What are your thoughts about this one, Jennifer?
I'm in the neither camp on this one. I'm just not drafting either. Yeah, I'm just not drafting either one.
So I
really
feel
not.
very good about my thoughts of not being able to wrap my head around it now.
Yeah, right.
There's
nothing to wrap your head around other
there's
than
not.
don't do it.
I think that Edmonds just doesn't get enough goal line carries to make him worth where he's going. I think Connor's super cheap, but he's a risk. Like he gets hurt. I mean, he's already hurt, I think. So I feel like there's enough out there that you don't have to take either one. You can just hard pass.
Is there enough with? So another thought. You just mentioned the injuries, right? So we know Connor gets banged up, and he already is. Mm-hmm. So with Connor being banged up, is Edmonds a guy that you would draft slightly ahead of his ADP if you're like going 0 RB, just because like Connor's gonna miss time, and so Edmonds is gonna get all the RB shares there for a while? Like, is that something that you would consider?
So what? Connor? Let's see. Edmonds is what? 7th
Edmonds
rounder
is
right
going,
now?
right now RB 27, and 64 overall, and then Connor's a little below him at 38.
At 38.
I mean, you're talking about like right now, Javonte Williams is below him according to Fantasy Pros. 38. I don't believe that. Mostert's below him. I don't believe that either.
I just think that I'm still just passing. I just feel like I just think with Kyler there taking most of the goal line stuff, I don't think it's worth it. I feel like it's kind of a wasted pick. I mean, I guess in best ball, if you're going to do it and hope that he has a couple spike weeks, fine. But like in redraft, I don't want the headache of like deciding to start him or not. Like it's just not worth it.
I haven't touched him anywhere, so I totally agree with you.
I would much rather pass on, definitely on Edmonds, and even go after like a James Robinson or a Michael Carter who could get a ton of volume.
I agree with that.
And then you go a couple picks down and you got Connor. Okay, well, I'm going to go a couple more picks down and you got Gus Edwards. You got Jamal Williams, who's going to be a PPR favorite.
And I like Edwards, especially in best ball.
Nyheim Hines. Well, Edwards definitely is more of a best ball candidate, but Hines, Williams,
I love Jamal Williams. I do
too.
I have way too much.
Over those guys.
Yeah, I have way too much.
I'm glad we're not drafting together, Jennifer, because we would be sniping each other a lot. It feels like.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, let's jump into the San Fran here. Obviously, Shanahan's been known to make running backs fantasy relevant, but at this point, it's really a true guess as to which one of these running backs it's going to be from week to week. They've got Mostert, they've got Sermon, they've got Wilson, who is injured, probably will miss at least the first half of the season from the stuff I've been reading. So we can maybe kick him out, but Elijah Mitchell's there as well. Do you trust any of these guys?
No, I'm actually avoiding this one too. I will say I've come around on Mostert a little bit recently. People have kind of been trying to talk me into him, and I've taken a little bit of him here and there. Wilson, I actually forgot about until you just mentioned. Because
I
knew he was hurt, and I just forgot. I forgot that like he actually can come back. I just kind of forgot about him. Elijah Mitchell. No, exactly. I don't know. it's tough because, like you said, so Shanahan does like a running back, right? I mean, he's going to run the ball, and I feel like, Sermon is a rookie. He may get some good opportunity, but I just feel like, I don't know. It's one of those where I've just been kind of passing as well. I feel like there's other guys I'd just rather have in that range. Like I said, I've been coming around a little bit on Mostert. Like, okay, maybe he'll stay healthy and he'll put together some good games in best ball. But I think in redraft, I'm not taking any of them.
Yeah, Mostert's a guy I definitely have grabbed a couple shares of in best ball. That's all I've done so far, really, aside from Scott Fish and a couple other industry type leagues. It's funny. We've got a friend of the show, Jeff Lambert from Going for Two, and he's a huge 49ers fan. And he comes out he did the NFC West show last year. We asked him similar question because it's always the same question with the 49ers with Shanahan.
Who's gonna run?
And he goes, you know what? I don't draft anybody except for the one who has the lowest ADP. And he goes, it seems like the last 3 years, the person who has the lowest ADP is the one you wanted to own. And last year it was Jeff Wilson, and he was 100% right. And you were like, oh my gosh. And the year before, I think he was right too.
Shares of Wilson because
and so this year, like, who's that? Sweet. Elijah Mitchell? Like, I did take Elijah Mitchell in like the last round of Scott Fish, and was just like, sure, click. Maybe Jeff will be right. And who knows? Crazier things can happen. I don't know. Yeah, it's always such a headache. I don't want to have to deal with figuring out. That's why it's a perfect best ball situation, especially if they're like your third or fourth running back. You don't have to really think about it too hard. You just let the computer figure itself out. So let's jump into the receivers here.
All right. So ADP for receivers. Again, this is half PPR. You've got DeAndre Hopkins at 4. You've got DK Metcalf at 6. You got Robert Woods at 17. Cooper Kupp, 19. Tyler Lockett at 20. Brandon Ayuk at 26. Deebo Samuel, 35. AJ Hobbles at 63 somehow.
I'm sorry, who?
AJ Hobbles, not me, because there's no periods in his.
I legit have never heard that name before, and I do this every day.
AJ likes to make some stuff up. It's good.
Yeah,
it is.
That's why he's here.
That's why I'm here. That's the only reason I'm here. Knowledge doesn't matter. Comedic genius, yes, lots of it. Christian, Captain Kirk, we've got at 70, and Rondale Moore, 74. It rhymes, so I mean, it's got to work.
Yeah.
No,
sure. No, why not?
Doesn't? No.
All right. So,
what happened to like River Craycraft? And you skipped a bunch of guys. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
River.
I was like, did I? I was like, oh no, I did do this 2 minutes before the show. I totally forgot to do the ADP.
Is he like the forgotten character on The Outsiders?
He's no River Craycraft is a he used to be a Bronco at one point, but according to what I'm looking at right now, he's on the 49ers. He's a wide receiver. I don't see AJ whatever that you
Craft is a name of like
you honestly you've never heard of
jealously odd and maybe one clawed crayfish that I would have fished out of a creek down the street from my house.
Look him up, man. He's a receiver.
Craycraft. Holy cow.
AJ Green is
totally
AJ Hobbles.
I'm not gonna lie.
Okay. I was like, what are you talking? Okay, now I'm with you.
Oh, I thought you got the joke.
No, I didn't. I clearly
well, because you talked about him earlier. That's part of the reason. Part of the reason I went that way.
Dude, AJ, how do you not know who River Craycraft is? He played for the Eagles.
He's been around.
So he's the Amoroso guy. How did I not know that?
2019 guy. No. He was signed to the practice squad and got cut.
Eagles?
Yeah, that's cool. Anyway, we can move on. Let's start here with the Seahawks.
Practice squad of receivers.
Let's start here with the Seahawks. So there. If you look at last season, there were only 14 total half PPR points separating Metcalf and Lockett. The problem is that Metcalf seemingly overtook this job as the alpha receiver. I mean, it really took 3 enormous games from Lockett to get to that point total. I mean, he had like a 40 and like a 37 and like a 33 and then a bunch of single digit totals and then like a couple like, low double digit totals as well. So like, I mean, he was okay, but like the consistency for him just wasn't there. And again, I'm the huge consistency guy, which is why I keep bringing that up. Bob Long and I are friends. We'll talk a lot this weekend, hopefully. But anyway, so kind of two questions here. Can DK produce enough to warrant his wide receiver 6 ADP? And at the same time, is Lockett a little bit of a value at wide receiver 20? Because I think people are really turned off on the fact that, he, after the first like 6-7 weeks of the season, he really plummeted along with his quarterback.
Yeah, he did. The thing with Lockett is I can't quit Lockett. I want to quit Lockett, and I just can't. I realized this year, then I went back and looked. So this is my, let's see, what are we, Scott Fishbowl 11? I think this is my 6th Scott Fishbowl, and I've had him every single year. I can't stop drafting him. I don't know what it is, and I drafted him this year because there he was, and I took him. But back to the original part of the question, DK is super pricey. It's scary to me. Like I want him to be good, and I want him to pan out at his price, but it's a little scary. Like I find myself, kind of foregoing him in that spot and going with, say like Justin Jefferson or, whoever's there instead. I get a little nervous.
Those two a lot.
Right. I mean, it's like, or AJ Brown, like I find myself like, okay, I don't know, I don't know. It's hard for me because like I said, I can't quit Tyler. So I do end up taking him because he falls and he's super cheap. I have to make myself not take him a lot because I don't want to have too much of him because, and like I said, this is mostly in best ball. Like for redraft, I don't know if I want the headache of dealing with him because he was rough last year. Because it's one of those things where you don't want to sit him, but yet, like you said, the consistency was not there. So there were times that he would do nothing, when somebody on your bench, outscored him by a lot. So, but I do think he's a pretty good value. I mean, he's wide receiver. I have him as 16, but I think you guys have him as something else.
Yeah, right now, he like according to the Fantasy Pros, he's 20. And he was actually lower when I originally wrote these notes, these questions down earlier in the week.
Interesting.
He's 23,
16.
so he's actually going up.
Yeah, he's 16 right now on Underdog, and he's gone up 2 spots, actually. Well, that's ADP spots, not positional spots. So,
okay.
Yeah, so he's gone up a couple spots over the last week. His ADP is 36 right now, so it's like, which is pretty. I mean, end of the third round. I don't know about that.
The thing you can, the thing with both of these guys is that their snap share is so incredible. Like they are the 2 receivers for Seattle, and like there's no question it's anybody else. Like they're both in the mid 90s for snap share. That's insane. And I don't really see that changing this year. So, it's hard to go wrong with either guy. It's just the fact that Lockett just really just sort of fell off the map last year, and Metcalf is this physical beast that catches everything that goes his way. It feels like, but his catch rate was way worse than Lockett's last year, so there is something to say about that. And so his touchdown rate was higher. So is that repeatable? It's tough, but I just think he's so big. It's hard to like massive. just. It's hard to be like, yeah, no, he can't do it again. Oh, wait. Yeah, he might be able to. Like, that's kind of, you look at him, you're like, yeah, if anybody can, you can. So, that's kind of my thought.
So, my comparison for these 2 receivers is DK Metcalf equals heroin and Tyler Lockett equals methadone. So, you're going to get yours either way.
Wow.
But
went there.
Yeah, I did.
I get it. I totally get it.
I mean, it's a great comparison.
It is.
I get it, man.
It makes sense. Everybody understands it. Well, maybe not everybody. But,
I mean,
like you're paying top dollar for the heroin Metcalf, and you're gonna go ahead and try to get off of that kick with the Tyler Lockett's like 5 games where he's gonna actually do something for you with the methadone clinic. So why the fuck not? I mean, you're getting a much better price on it. You're still addicted regardless. Jen, you just clearly stated that because you have Lockett in how many Scott Fish Bowls?
6. This is now the 6th straight one.
All right.
So that's like me and Carson in every Scott Fish Bowl. But anyway, let's move on, man. Let's ask about these Rams.
All right. So the Rams. Speaking of drugs, no, I'm just kidding. Stafford. All right, he's there. We obviously talked about him. How much better are we going to see Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp be this year than they were with Goff?
Pretty good. I like both of them a lot. I usually end up kind of gravitating more towards Woods because I like that little secret rushing upside that he offers. He usually has, a few rushing plays and even a few rushing touchdowns per year baked in that a lot of people don't realize. So I usually kind of end up going his way, especially in like a PPR format. He seems to be getting more targets. Maybe not. I don't actually have that number in front of me. I'm just kind of throwing that. But yeah, I like them both a lot. I think that, like I said earlier, Stafford can throw the ball a lot farther and better than Goff. So I think that we might be, we might see more actual yardage and, bigger plays, more explosive plays with these guys this season than with Goff.
Yeah, I like both of these guys. I agree. I would prefer to have Woods, but he has gone a couple of spots ahead of where I wanted to try to grab him in a couple of leagues. So I just sucked it up and taken Kupp. And I'm okay with it because, I mean, again, when he's been healthy, even with Goff, he's been a go-to guy and a very productive one. So I think that this year he will kind of rejuvenate himself as the player that we've seen in the past. Maybe not the same amount of targets with Bobby Trees there, but he's still going to be very productive. And where you're getting him, you can't disagree with it.
Yeah, I mean, just real quick, like I did an article about air yards and targets that you want to get for air yards, based off of air yards, and Robert Woods was in that article for me. Like, I just like the fact that, his percentage of his yards from air yards was a little higher, and when you add Stafford to that mix, who likes to throw the deep ball and has a much better deep ball than Goff, I think that plays into Woods so much better than does Cooper Kupp with Stafford. So I think that connection there is going to be much better than Kupp. And I actually have them a little farther separated in my rankings than the ADP shows. I have Kupp a few spots lower just based off of that. But I think they're both going to be really solid this year. But let's move over to Arizona, and we kind of alluded to this earlier. I don't think anybody's denying DeAndre Hopkins' talent. He's one of the top receivers in the game. But going back to consistency, he was pretty inconsistent last year. Bob Lung's guide here said he was 69% consistent, which is not good for a top 5 receiver. This was pretty much all due to lack of touchdowns. His yards, targets, receptions, they were among the best, if not the best in the league last year. So with that being said, and I think we would all sort of expect some sort of positive regression for touchdowns, can he keep himself in the top 5 wide receiver discussion at the end of the season?
I think it's possible. I mean, I'm not huge on him. I'm going to take him here and there. As we discussed earlier, I mean, I don't know. It's tough. Like you said, we need to see more consistency, and we need to see, Kyler actually throw more to – I mean, it's tough because, so he is obviously the clear wide receiver 1 in that offense, right? There really isn't anybody else that's going to see 100%. The volume or get – so, I mean, yes, but at the same time, when you're looking at opportunity cost and where you're getting him, I don't know. I feel like I usually end up going elsewhere for him. I mean, I don't hate the pick. You know what I mean? Like if someone picks him, I'm not like, oh, bad pick. I mean, he's fine where he is. I just don't know that he's someone I'm targeting specifically because for as much as he costs, you know, as that wide receiver 4 or 5 or wherever he is, you want someone that, you know, week in, week out is going to put up those numbers. And I don't know if he's going to do that.
He is literally one of the only players I've seen who has more reception yards than air yards. That's insane. So like he just ran like little slant routes and then just like ran with them the entire season. And so like he's so much better than that. That's a huge knock on Kyler Murray in my opinion.
Yakety yak, don't come back.
Right?
I mean,
it's tough.
I agree. Hopkins, I love Hopkins. I think he's phenomenal in this offense. I think him and Kyler are great together. I thought him and Deshaun were great together as well.
They were
better, actually.
Yeah, they really were. But I mean, everybody's going to go back to that one catch last year that Hopkins made, and it's going to be like
saved by week.
Bill O'Brien, this catch. I'm going to go with that. But yeah, it's. I don't know where I want to put him because he has been so inconsistent to me, at least. I think that it's, 69%. Okay.
That's been his worst consistency rating in his entire career, by the way. But, and again, that goes back to Murray. So, I mean,
I think
the targets are there. The volume's going to be there for him. It's just a matter of it's going to convert. He
was Murray's safety net too, and he's still going to be. Don't get me wrong, but
that's why he's going to go that high. The yardage and the targets and the receptions are going to be there. And if you're playing in the PPR league, like you're super happy. So
he's worth
touchdowns be damned in a PPR league in that case.
Exactly.
But are you guys taking anyone else there? Like I said earlier, I just can't buy into Kirk or Isabella or AJ.
No, I don't. Hopkins is the only guy, and I have him in one best ball league, but I've been sort of passing on him. Mainly a lot of the reasons is because this is kind of the way the draft has fallen for me. But even still, like you could easily take Ridley or even Metcalf over Hopkins, I feel like, and feel good about it.
Can I interest you in Max Williams at tight end?
I was gonna mention him in the ADP just for fun, but
sorry.
But no, it's all good. Yeah, he's your free lottery ticket. He's not even on the ADP list.
No, he's not.
Jeff mentioned him, and I was like, who? What? Oh,
yeah.
I was like, he's free. It's fun. So, all right, let's finish things up, AJ.
All right, so Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk are talented, obviously. They have lots of yakety yak ability, but can either Lance or Jimmy G keep the fantasy relevant enough for you to want to draft them? Keep them fantasy relevant enough? I saw that and I was like, that's wrong, and I still read it wrong.
I'll take Deebo. I can do that. He's cheap enough. Ayuk, I'm not sure I'm going to take. I feel like he's a little bit too pricey for that QB situation. But I feel like Deebo is, at the moment at least, is priced to sell, and I would take him. It's tough. I mean, that offense, I feel like it's going to be all Kittle in the run game. I mean, I know that the other guys have to get some balls too, but I feel like if Kittle is healthy and on the field, I feel like it's going to be all him when they're throwing the ball. Could be wrong, but that's kind of my feel.
Granted, San Fran does have the number one easiest schedule according to Fantasy Pros. But again, with Ayuk,
that'll change.
Well, yeah, easily. I mean, you're looking at what he did last year, and he had a great year. But because of the various injuries, they had multiple running back injuries. They had Debo injuries. They had Kittle injuries to deal with. So somebody had to step up, and he did. Hopefully that earns the trust of Shanahan, but we'll see, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just keep it short. I agree. I like Debo way better, just purely based off of ADP. And you got to forget, everybody forgets that Debo was so good.
Yeah.
2 years ago. So Ayuk came in, but he was only good because there was nobody else there, including Kittle for most of the season. So I'm sort of off Ayuk with the ADP, but
yeah. All right, so jumping into tight ends here, obviously George Kittles and Bits is number 2. Tyler Higbee is number 12. We've got Gerald Everett switching teams in division at 22, and Max Williams free.
Which, by the way, I just gotta say something real quick. The fact that George Kittle's tight end 2 is kind of weird because their overall has Waller ahead of Kittle. So that's very bizarre, the fact that Fantasy Pros did that. I'm not sure how that worked. Waller's been going ahead of Kittle in every draft I've been in. So let's just swap that real quick. Kittle's 3. I missed that while I was typing this in, 5 minutes before the show.
He actually is 3 according to Fantasy Pros. So you don't have to question them and your own knowledge. You just have to question what you typed previously.
I can send you a screenshot of what I'm looking at right now, but we'll do that later.
I don't care.
Okay. Fair enough. Ask the question.
Well, okay, so you were 1 off by Kittle. You were also 1 off by Higbee, according to Fantasy Pros.
Are you on half PPR?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, I know what we do here.
I don't know why mine's different.
Division.
I don't know why mine's different.
I have half PPR. It doesn't matter. Anyway, Gerald Everett is gone. Tyler Higbee should be the guy, but is he someone that you can trust as your tight end 1?
It's a complicated answer. I'm kind of a yes and no situation. I don't love Higbee. I will say it depends on the format. I did take Higbee in Scott Fishbowl because in that time, I tight end premium. They were falling. I had to get him. Then I made the wonderful mistake by accident. I actually handcuffed Higbee and took Jacob Harris later without remembering that I had Higbee. So I somehow handcuffed my tight end in Scott Fishbowl, which is interesting strategy that I don't think anyone else probably did. And I didn't mean to. I was doing a bunch of drafts at the same time, and I really, there's a lot of Harris hype. I was excited. I was like, there he is. It was like the second to last pick, I think. And then right after I did it, I was like, oh, shit, I actually already have Higbee. Oh, well. But anyway.
I've done way worse. So.
Yeah, I mean, who handcuffs a tight end, though? That's not really a strategy that's pretty. Anyway, I'm one. Okay, so in regular, normal, redraft life, I'm kind of a pay up for tight end or don't at all. So Higbee usually is someone I don't take. I'm going to go for Kelsey or Waller. Or I'm going to wait and just punt at the very end. So that's kind of my...
Everybody else.
Yeah, so that's why...
Especially this year.
Yeah, I don't go for, the Logan Thomas and the Higbee and the Gesicki, and I let all those guys go. So that's kind of why it was a yes and no, because I think in certain formats, if you're in a tight end premium or a 2 tight end league or something like that, I think Higbee's fine. I think if you're doing just regular redraft, 1 tight end... I'm going to let him go because I just don't know. I don't know. I mean, Stafford, in the past hasn't really had any, him and Hawkinson were okay, but not anything fantastic, right? And I can't remember who was there before Hawkinson, Jesse James or no, I don't even remember.
Yeah, not good.
Yeah.
So don't worry about it.
So, right. So it's not anything that, is historically something that he does. So, yeah, I mean, Higbee's kind of a meh for me.
Yeah, Higbee's one of those, if he falls a couple ADP spots later, I've been okay with it. And he has in a few spots for me. But overall, like, I don't love it because you do worry about Stafford actually checking down to his tight end a few times. Although, again, that offense does like to throw to the tight end a little bit more, so maybe there's something to that. But there's a few guys I'd be okay, especially if he's going a little earlier. Like, I'm okay waiting for a few guys after that if I get to that point in the draft and I don't have my tight end yet.
Right.
So I agree with you. Speaking of Gerald Everett, he's now in Seattle, and Seattle has always found a way to make their tight ends semi-relevant. A lot of it is touchdown related, but hey, that matters. Can Everett be one of those guys, because he's going so late? Can he be one of those guys that can just, if you wait for tight end like you're mentioning, can he be one of those guys like he's a super sleeper? I
think so. I like him. I think. He's reunited with Shane Waldron, right, from the Rams. He's now there, and he knows how to use him. And I read some sort of quote. He's excited about. He like brought Everett in, like he was part of getting him to go there. So I feel like they're going to use him. He does still have to contend with Will Dissly, right, who is still there, and he had some usage last year. So that's a small concern. But I think for the price, it's not really a concern, right? Mm-hmm. He's what, a 13th rounder or something. And Everett, he could sneak into a tight end one territory, So
I didn't even put Dissly on this list, but I kind of forgot about it. But he's tight end 31.
Is there. Yeah, he got hurt last year, but I mean, he went healthy.
I've had him on my dynasty team for 3 years, and I keep holding him, thinking he's going to be the guy. It's just not working.
Yeah. Will Dissly is the injury concern of tight ends everywhere. So he's great when he's healthy and not so much when he's not healthy. So he's not really healthy often is what I'm trying to say. So Kittle, clearly great player.
Finish off here. Yep.
Injuries have clearly hurt his value the last couple of seasons, but do you trust him enough this year to stay on the field to draft him in the late second?
I do not. I think that, and I hate a lot of people like the word injury prone, whatever, but with Kittle, it's kind of a different situation. Like, it's the way he plays, right? He's insane. Yeah. And that's so it's, it's not just like your normal injury. It's like the way he plays. It's just like, he's just asking to get hurt on every play. He's kind of a maniac, and it's a little bit scary. And they also use him a lot, which is scary too, because he, get a lot of volume, and the way he kind of plays his game, I feel like it's kind of ripe for getting hurt. So I've been passing on him in favor of Waller.
It's funny, like you and I'm not saying you're wrong, because
because I agree
with you. But like, you mentioned the fact that like he plays like he wants to get hurt. Chris Carson, like we mentioned earlier, does sort of the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
The difference is Carson is like round 5-6 in a lot of leagues, 4 at best, right? To where Kittle, if you want him, you got to take him early. And I mean, I get it. When he's on the field, he's crazy good, like better than Carson good type of thing. And so I get it, but yeah, I've been off of him. I have him in my dynasty league as well. I've got him in Dissly, and I've just been like, okay, whatever. So it's just like, sure, whatever. But yeah, I mean, when Kittle's on the field, I'm a championship contender. When he's not on the field, my team kind of sucks because I don't have it. I'm getting 0 from my tight end, literally 0. So,
speaking of free, Will Dissly is free. I feel like for the majority of drafts this year.
He's not getting drafted. Those are like,
nobody is taking him with Everett there, but.
Are you?
See. No.
He'll be a free agent target for me.
Not yet.
This is the thing with tight end. It's that like every year you get those randoms, and that's the thing. Like, you have to take them. Like I've been taking Tyler Conklin. I've been taking Albert O. I've been taking OJ Howard. Like those guys are going to end up. Yeah, and it's like everyone's all over Fant, and Fant's fine, but I feel like those are the guys that are going to end up where they're going to have these crazy weeks. And so I throw darts at all those guys at the end of drafts.
So question. So, okay. Yeah. You're saying you're throwing darts at tight ends at the end of drafts. Like, are these, like, how deep are these drafts? Because I got a question. Like, I feel like in a normal, like, 16-round redraft league, like, those guys are not getting taken, even if I want to throw a dart at them.
I'm talking best ball, like 18 or 20, depending on what site. Redraft, I'm not taking any of these guys.
Okay, fair enough.
Right.
I just wanted to make sure we clarified that.
No, for sure. Redraft, I usually take just one tight end.
One tight end, figure it out.
Yeah,
and then,
don't even take a second.
Hopefully you can grab the Logan Thomas off the waiver wire.
Yeah, no, totally. This is best ball where I feel like some of these guys are going to have these like Alberto is going to have a 3-touchdown game out of nowhere. And he's going to be your 18th round pick, and it's going to separate you from the pack. So I feel like, in some of those situations where the tight end is not as secure, obviously you're not going to take. I don't even know who's Kittle's backup. Who's there, Seelick, or is it someone else now? No, I think Seelick's retired. Whoever's there.
I had their backup last season when he got hurt. Who?
Dwelly.
Oh yeah,
that's right. That's who it was. Yeah, I had to drop Dwelly.
Like he's not someone, but I feel like
and then the Washington guy, Jordan
Sprinkles.
Reed.
No,
Jordan Reed.
He retired.
Jordan Reed.
He's done.
I think it's Jeremy Sprinkle, isn't it?
Oh,
another Washington guy.
I don't know.
No, isn't that
worse?
Isn't Jeremy Sprinkle the backup? I don't know. Whatever. But I feel like
the fact that we don't know probably isn't a good thing.
To get to that point. Dwelly's like, hello.
No. And listen, Dwelly had a couple good games last year with Kittle out.
He was solid.
I
used him, and I was like, so I have a chance still. Then I was like,
right.
No,
I just feel like in some of those
Charlie Warner, Dwelly, Miko Pruitt.
Wait, Sprinkle's in Dallas? So they have
come on.
They have Jarwin, they have Schultz, and they have Sprinkle? Wow.
Oh, that makes my Jarwin pick way worse in
baseball.
No,
Sprinkle's going to get cut. He's not going to be there. They're not going to have 3 tight ends.
He'll be back in Washington.
Yeah, exactly. They're not going to carry 3 tight ends in Dallas.
Jokingly roster signee or something. I don't even know.
Yeah.
I mean, the interesting thing for me is that Fant and Albert O are basically the exact same player. I mean, Fant's 6'4", 249, Albert O's 6'5", 255. They're monsters. Like, they're both just huge.
They're both big, yeah.
So I don't know.
you gotta throw a few darts at Alberto in best ball just because you don't know what's gonna happen.
I'm looking at my best ball draft
and
now, going like, where can I get him in?
Really favorable.
Just because you said that.
And of course, we don't know. I mean, the QB situation is obviously not ideal, but that'll work itself out, and then he's free, so why not? And same like OJ Howard, I'm back on that train for one more year with him. I feel like. And I know this is not the NFC West. I completely sidetracked us.
I think he's having a tough time coming back from the Achilles injury, unfortunately, though. So I'm not sure I can buy into that one.
I think he's fine. No, maybe I missed.
Literally just heard today that he was having trouble.
Oh, really?
I was listening to Sirius XM, and I don't remember who it was.
Cameron Brate.
Not here yet. Come back. That's today or yesterday. Not here yet is what the headline is.
Interesting. All right.
So
then maybe
I'm having a little tough time buying into him.
I can be talked into pivoting to Cameron Brate in a heartbeat.
Yeah, Brate's going to have some games. He is. He always does.
I mean, Gronk is not. They're going to listen. They're going to either. I think they're going to preserve Gronk for the playoffs. He's not going to play. So, so I think that's why I've been taking RJ Howard, just thinking he'd have some good spike weeks in between. But if he's hurt, then maybe I got to pivot.
Gronk's been my tight end, too, and a couple times tight end 3 because he fell to really late in a few drafts of mine. And I was just like, okay, fine. I'll take the 3 weeks. He kills it.
Yeah.
But in that case, in only the leagues where I need to take 3 tight ends in Best Ball, sorry. Best Buy, yeah. I don't know why I said that.
It's an electronics store.
Yeah, sure. No. But anyway, Jennifer, thank you for coming on tonight. Great talking to you and great information. Before we let you go, let everybody know where they can find all your stuff and where they can find you on Twitter, that kind of stuff.
I am on Twitter at the Monday Mommy, and I am at 444 everywhere at 444. I have lots of lots of content at 444. So there's just a ton of stuff there. I can't even go into like what it is because it's a lot. But yeah, I'll redraft and best ball content 444.
Good stuff. Yes, obviously you know what you're talking about. So yeah, check her stuff out there. And yeah, again, thank you for coming on and have a good night.
All right,
Bye.
Thank you.
All right, AJ, that's all we got. And so yeah, we're done with the division previews. I think next week we are a little uncertain on what we're doing. We've got mock draft written down. We've got draft strategy written down. We've got to figure it out. So we will talk and get back to you all, but it will be next Thursday, I believe. And
sure.
Yeah, check us out on social media this weekend. We're all going to be at the all three of us, Jeff, AJ, and I, will all be at the Fantasy Football Expo in Canton, Ohio. Hope everybody can make it who's watching. It's going to be a good time. I look forward to meeting all of you. And we got some good giveaways at the booth. And, yeah, including this bad boy. AJ, you're going to get one of these soon. So will Jeff. Right. This thing is
Pay
awesome.
for it, I better.
I don't know. I think my son liked yours. It might be thrown against the wall and cracked already. I'm not sure.
No, that one's going to Davis. Sorry, Davis.
Sorry,
Davis. Buy one?
Davis, Jesus. We're just going to throw Davis under the bus here. All right.
No. Did Davis buy one?
Yes.
Know. I'm like trying to remember Slack channel.
I don't remember either. I'm just going to ask everybody who comes, like, do you want one? Check my PayPal, figure out if anybody paid me. I don't even have any clue at this point.
You.
I know. You and Jeff both did. So we're good. Anyway. We will be there. Hope to see you guys there. And I think I'm out, man. You good? All right. Peace.
Cheers.